Morning. I am wanting to talk to you today about confidence, which I know is a really big topic and something that we could probably be talking about for many months to come. And it's something that you probably think about. I've been hearing a lot recently in different Facebook groups that I'm part of or different ways that people that I'm talking to, my students, just a lot of conversation about confidence in particular. Why do women struggle with confidence when it comes to putting our music out there in the world? So for those of you watching today, I'm going live on our She Sings Out Loud Sisterhood Facebook group. I'm going live on our She Sings Out Loud Facebook page, and I'm live on my Emma Back Music page on Instagram. So shout out to all my lovely audience and people listening on Instagram today. And I'm not going to play music for you. I'm actually just going to talk about what it takes to really honor ourselves and our value, particularly as women, because I've been doing a lot of work with She Sings Out Loud, and how can we really step into our full confidence to share our gifts with the world. So if you are a musician, this could be particularly your musical gift. And if it's not your music, then what is something in your life that you really want to be sharing with others, that you struggle in some ways to have confidence to do so? So when we're talking about confidence, we can't actually create confidence. Okay, this is a big thing that I kind of have made the mistake myself, and I see people kind of thinking about is we think that somehow we can work on becoming more confident. And that, I think, is actually something that's really difficult to do. So confidence, in my experience, arises naturally as a result of harnessing our courage and doing the thing we care about most and really believing that it matters. So there is some mindset shift and some work when it comes to thinking about our self-belief and our self-worth. But again, we can't necessarily work on becoming confident. We have to work on the things that are underneath our confidence that are causing a lack of confidence, and then confidence will naturally arise. But if we just try to become more confident, usually it's either like a band-aid and it's not addressing the kind of deeper challenges that we go through as human beings with our mindset and our way of being, or it's just not going to work. And maybe you've had this experience. You've tried to work on your self-worth or confidence, and it's just a really hard thing to do. So working on confidence doesn't really make a difference, and it actually often makes us feel less powerful because it actually represences and it re-traumatizes us towards our thinking around how we're not good enough and toward the internalized stories that have come from our past experiences. Okay, so let me say that again because that's pretty big and maybe a little bit radical to say, which is that when we try to work on confidence, we're often just re-traumatizing ourselves towards the things that have happened in our past that have caused us to have self-doubt or caused us to feel like we're not good enough, because we're still kind of coming from a sense of something lacking, and then we're trying to cover that up with some feeling of confidence. But it's not actually, again, getting to the root of what's really underneath all of that. So again, confidence arises naturally when we have a few things in place. It's not something that we can necessarily work on. So confidence arises when we have the knowledge and skills. So sometimes we have a lack of confidence because we just need to learn more things, right? So an example for me right now in my life is I have been working on producing my own music for the first time. This came out of the kind of the necessity of COVID-19, and I've been really enjoying that, but it's definitely something that I struggle to feel confident in. But really, the reason that I'm struggling to feel confident is I just don't know a lot yet. I'm just really at the beginning of learning how to do this, okay? And the good news about this is we can always go and we can learn the things that we need that are going to then feed and nurture our confidence, okay? The challenge with this, with just kind of learning more things, is that I think especially as women and femme people, but I could say probably, men and those who identify as male struggle with this as well. Often we actually don't need to learn more things. We kind of have this feeling, this kind of thought in our head, or this perpetuating story in our mind that says that we aren't good enough. And so we think we have to go learn more things so that we feel good enough. But then we go out and we learn more things and we still struggle to feel like we're good enough. So that can be just something to watch with yourself. Sometimes it's really clear, I just need to go learn more things. Sometimes, especially, you can look for yourself, especially as women and femme people, maybe you've just been trying to learn more things, but you actually have everything you need in this moment to share the beautiful gift of your music with the world. Okay, that's something just to consider. So it's really tricky. We have to really think about this. So it's not our confidence, again, it's not going to work to become more confident if we're always coming from a place of lack and thinking that we have to get more credentials or learn more things, okay? And you can just look. Maybe there is something really simple you could go and learn that would help you feel more confident, but just something to play with in your own experience. So the other way that naturally confidence will arise is when we practice. Confidence comes naturally when we practice. So something that I always tell my She Sings Out Loud students is that we can only practice performing by performing. Now, I know those of you watching on our She Sings Out Loud channels, you know this about me because I've shared my story with you a lot, but if you're watching on Emma Beck Music on Instagram, you may not know that I actually have dealt with perpetuating stage fright, like really completely freezing up, traumatized. It's something I really, really dealt with in my early 20s in particular, and in my late teens, where I was just really traumatized from performing on stage, and I had paralyzing stage fright. I really couldn't do that. Okay, so, but practicing performing and learning how to perform in a way where we are connecting authentically with our audience and learning to allow people to see us and to hear us, we must practice that. And when we can practice that, then naturally the fear of putting ourselves out there will start to dissipate, because we're really feeling the connection that's happening with other people. And it becomes not so much about ourselves and our own ego, it's really about relationship. And then from there, the confidence of sharing ourselves and being vulnerable will just naturally arise. And even vulnerability, there can start to be confidence within how we feel vulnerable, and it can actually feel good to make ourselves more vulnerable. So again, if you are not a musician, you could map this on for anything, any way that you kind of put yourself out there in the world, that the confidence comes from the practice of engaging and putting yourself out there and allowing yourself to be witnessed in your beautiful offering that you're wanting to share. Okay, so then the other way that confidence naturally arises is shifting the mindset, the negative self-belief, the negative self-judgment, all of that kind of stuff that's underneath our confidence, and becoming really clear in what we have to offer, and becoming clear and connected to what we want to contribute and the value. So I've talked to you about this before. It really comes back to your why. Why are you making music? Why are you doing whatever you're doing to share your beautiful gift? And what's the difference that you want to make with other people? Okay, so confidence can never really come from only external validation, though it can actually be strengthened by positive feedback for sure. But it doesn't matter, no matter how much positive feedback we collect and fill that basket full of, yes, you're worthy, I loved what you did, all of that validation, if we haven't addressed this negative self-judgment and self-belief that is often underneath that, we will never feel confident. And we will always kind of say, yeah, but. Right? If someone says, oh my gosh, you did just a good job, I love this song that you created, like, thank you so much, your mind is going to go, yeah, but, you didn't hear yesterday's performance, which was really bad. Or, yeah, but, I messed up on this part. Or, yeah, but you don't, you're not a musician, so maybe you don't really understand how terrible I did. This is stuff that I've definitely struggled with, and it doesn't really matter how much validation comes in if we don't have this connection to our own value and allowing the confidence to arise from being clear on what we have to offer and working on really believing that that is worthy. Okay, and this, without going into too much detail, comes again through practice, through practicing and through continuing to acknowledge ourselves. And also it comes from going into where those negative stories started. So what was the first moment where you started to believe that you weren't good enough? Where was the first moment that you started to question your worth? Okay, and often when we address those moments, we can kind of penetrate the hold that they have on us. And this is something we really do in She Sings Out Loud programs. So without going into too much detail, because I don't want to keep you here all day, just that's a little simple thing. You could go back to, where did this story start and how have you kind of lived your life inside of that story that might have started from a really naive perspective. And I say that with total love, that as children, things happen around us, adults do things and say things that we often internalize. And because we're interpreting everything through a child's mind, we often make up these negative self-beliefs or these patternings, even when something is positive. So the example, the story I often share is when I was 11 years old and I had my first big solo in this teen choir. I was the youngest one in this choir. It was called Village Harmony, for those of you that are in Vermont. And we were doing this big tour and I had this big solo as an 11-year-old and I sang my heart out and I had no fear and I just was able to fully put it out there. And then, oops, I hope I'm not using you on Instagram. Here we go. Sorry, my phone for some reason is blinking off on Instagram. So I had shared my voice. I had shared that fearlessly as this 11-year-old girl. And afterwards, this woman came up to me and she said, wow, you have such a big voice for an 11-year-old. You have such a beautiful voice. I can just see that you're going to go really far. And what did I do with that? Right? That was positive feedback. I, in that moment, decided that I had to live up to that. There was some expectation of how I was supposed to be, I'm supposed to go far now, right? I'm supposed to really do this thing. And from that moment, I started having stage fright. Never had it before, totally fearless. And from that moment of positive feedback, I started to really doubt myself and question myself. Okay, so again, that was being interpreted through this child's mind and this pressure that I suddenly felt to live up to this adult expectation. Okay, so, and it took me years and years to realize that that was the moment where all this started. Okay, so this is really a process of investigating, where are you holding that self-doubt, where that lack of confidence, where is that living in the way that you talk to yourself, the stories that you tell yourself. Okay, and just to kind of look and try to kind of uncover that. And what we can do once we've sort of uncovered that is to really kind of negate the negative story with self-love, with self-compassion, and with, again, stepping into our value and almost having it become a mantra for you, where you kind of notice the old story that's not helpful. For me, I have to live up to that, right? And instead, take a deep breath and step into, my voice is valuable. What I have to offer the world is valuable. Not because anyone else says so, but because I say so, because I feel within me this longing to express something. And because I long, I'm trusting that this is what I have to offer. So this goes back to what I say to you all the time, my lovely She Sings Out Loud community, that I talk about your longing, right? Because you long to express yourself through music, that in itself is all the proof you need that you are meant to walk this path. Because if you didn't long, you wouldn't be meant to walk this path. If you didn't care so much, you wouldn't be meant to walk this path. Because you care, that's an indication that this matters. And there is something to really work with through this, okay? So that's mostly what I want to say to you today. It has to do with, when we're talking about letting confidence arise, becoming responsible for where your mind is. So no one is coming to change your mind for you. So we want to notice the negative self-talk. We want to recognize that we can't actually change our brain patterns. we can only create new ones. So you don't have to do anything about your negative stories. You just have to start to create a new pathway by stepping into why you value yourself. And when you start to value what you have to offer and just keep looking for, why does this matter? What is it I want to offer? Why does it matter? And start to, if you're still feeling stuck and you keep having a story, oh, it doesn't matter, just make up something. Just why does it matter to you? And then start to work with trusting that. And when you start to continue to tell yourself that and trust that, the confidence will naturally rise. And then we practice doing what we do. We practice performing, we practice sharing, we practice. And then the confidence will start to arise. And then you can look at, is there still this kind of lack of confidence because you need to go learn something new? Okay, you need to go learn something new. So for me, for a long time, I was lacking confidence to really share all of this. Who am I to tell people about how to be confident? Who am I to empower other women to share their voices with the world? I had a lack of confidence around that. And it was because I did have to go do a little bit more of my own work. I had to go be out in the world a little more as a musician. I had to, do more meditation practices. I had to do a coach's training. Like there were things that for me to do to help build the confidence. But at the end of the day, you have everything you need in this moment. You are wise and beautiful, and you have an incredible gift to share with the world. And you may need to learn a few more things for sure. But I want you to look at, maybe you have everything you need. Maybe you have everything you need. And if you need to learn more things, maybe it's just a tiny thing, tiny drop in the bucket. And then you just practice and you work with your mindset and you work with really shifting that. Okay, so moving away from imposter syndrome, which is who am I to do this, to no one else is coming. This is my heart work. This is my most authentic offering in this lifetime, and I am the only one who can do what I do the way I do it. Okay, that would be a way to start to talk to yourself that way instead of the negative stories. And watch your mind when you start to talk to yourself negatively. Try to bring something else in. Watch where you tend to spiral. Okay, and this is something that we really have to work at over time. So my invitation to you is to really harness your courage to step into what it is you want to offer. Okay, and courage is another word for it, you could say, is fearlessness. So fearlessness is not the absence of fear. It's actually going beyond fear. In the face of fear, it's saying, I'm going to do this anyway. So one way we can work to build confidence is to just do it anyways, to notice that we lack confidence, but instead of letting that stop us, to offer anyways, with not forcing ourselves and pushing ourselves harshly or bringing in any aggression, but just with tremendous love and care, honoring who you are, honoring what you have to offer. And even though you have fear and you lack confidence, to do it anyways. And again, when you start to do that and you practice doing that, the confidence will naturally arise rather than trying to work on becoming more confident. And somehow once you're confident, then you'll go and share, because you may never feel confident until you go and practice doing it, right? So in the face of your self-judgment, in the face of any external criticism, in the face of your fear, how can you show up today? How can you show up today and take one action to stand in your value and do this not because you are good enough or you're not good enough, but because you feel called to share this gift, whether it is the gift of your music or some other medium. You feel called to share yourself in an authentic way. So this is about trusting your longing, taking action, and then the courage and the faith in yourself and the confidence will come. Have a lovely week. I will see you at 11:30 a.m. next Tuesday.